Okay, welcome to this video on how to write the discussion section of your laboratory report. Your objectives are to describe the type of information that must be contained within the discussion section of the laboratory report. And as usual, number two, we'll have a look at an example. So the components of the discussion then. So the purpose of the discussion is to basically present your principles, relationships and generalization shown by your results. So we said in the results section you're not supposed to explain why you found what you have found. This is the purpose of the discussion. Okay, so the first paragraph will be a summary of everything you found, and then you go on to explaining why you found them. So show your results, interpretations, agree or contrast previous research. So think of all the literature you've talked about in literature review and start to link your results to the previous studies. Do they agree with them? Do they disagree? And why? Okay, so it's very important that you talk about your results, you link them to previous research, and you explain why there's a difference or why there's similarity. So you discuss the theoretical applications of your work as well as practical applications. So there's no point in just discussing your results and linking them to previous research. You have to talk about what your study has found and why it's important. So theoretical implications. So in theory, what do your results show? Do they show that Lucozade is better than water, etc.? Okay, and think about the practical applications. How can people who are reading your study practically use your results? Okay, so practically, should they be drinking 150 mils or 200 mils of Lucozade or 500 mils of water? I know. Think about what you could practically apply your results to. State your conclusions as clearly as possible. Okay, so every point that you make or every bit of research that you compare and contrast with, make a conclusion based on what you think. Okay, should there be a difference? Should there be a similarity? Make the conclusion and state it. All right. So in simple terms, the primary purpose of your discussion is to show the relationships among your observed facts, so the relationships among the results that you found and the relationships with previous research. So I've put a little template for your discussion here. Okay, so the second bullet point here you can use within your discussion to help you make sure you put in all the correct parts. So you start off by discussing your results. So you want to discuss the first paragraph is your summary results. The second paragraph is the main point, the main finding of your study. Okay, so your study found that. Pop in your main point. Okay, you then explain that point. So the reason we found this is based on the theory that you've read previously. Okay, the physiological responses, the psychological responses depend on what type of study you've done. Okay, then you bring in previous research. Is it similar or does it contrast previous work? Okay, conducted by, so put in the authors of that study. So you've got your references in there, you've got your evidence. Explain what that study found, whether it was similar or different. Okay, and the reason why someone else who's done a similar study to you found either a different result or a similar result. Okay, did they use the same equipment? Did they use different equipment? Was their protocol slightly different to yours? Okay, so put those reasons in. The final thing is on that, obviously don't use that template for every single point that you put in, otherwise you're just going to repeat yourself over and over again. Okay, so manipulate it, adjust it a little bit, change the wording, but use it because it'll make sure you put in all the relevant points in your discussion. So just to kind of summarize, if you are going to change it, make a point from your results, explain the finding, compare it to previous research, explain the comparison between that research. Okay, and don't forget, you don't have to make one point and compare it to one piece of research. Okay, there might be 3 or 4 studies that you've talked about that are relevant, and you can explain the similarities and differences between them. Okay, so as usual, let's have a quick look at an example. So I need to go into a work account. Okay, so here we have an example distinction piece of work from the past. Okay, so this learner did a study on the effects of music. Okay, so you can see straight away the first paragraph is a summary paragraph of what was found and the major finding from the study. Okay, the second paragraph, they look at their main point. They explain the point. Okay, they then start to bring in research a little bit closer to the bottom. Okay, comparing RPEs, comparing the differences in music. All right, Ideally, there should be more research in this first paragraph, but you're only at level 3, so that's the sort of stuff I want you to try and bring in. Okay, so again, we look at examples to help you improve your piece of work based on these pieces of work. Okay, but they've done it well. Citation not the best. Okay, we know how to put these in correctly, so please do that. But the premise is there. They've compared their findings to previous research. Okay, they've said that they contrast and they differ. They've told me why they're different. They've put in their results again, okay, for each of the different conditions, which is excellent. They've used specific time points from their results to help strengthen the point that they're trying to make, which is exactly what I expect you to do. Okay. They talk about a couple of different studies. They talk about the difference in RPE and heart rate. Okay, so we've got Edworthy there, we've got Copeland and Frank, so we're talking different studies all the time. There's constant link to theory, why things are happening. There's constant link to their results and the p-values. Okay, so this is a really good piece of work. Ideally, we would have references that were closer to the time, but again, at level 3, it's good just to be able to show that you can use previous research and make links to it. Okay. Finally, they put a little paragraph in there to conclude what they found. All right. Now, ideally, we should have a limitation section, which is what we've got here at the bottom. Oops, daisy. Go back up. Too far. Okay. So in this piece of work here, we have the recommendations. Okay. Limitations, future directions, 4th piece of work. So this is what I expect you to finish with in your discussion. Okay. So everything that was strength of your study, the limitations of your study. Okay, did you have the perfect piece of equipment? Did you have to use something different? Did that affect your results? Okay, and then finally talking about future directions. So from your results, where should the next piece of research in that area be linked to? Okay, so if you're looking at Lucozade versus water, did you find that Lucozade was better? And if so, could you then compare Lucozade versus Gatorade, etc. Okay, so what is the next step for someone looking to research in your field? Okay, so that's your video on the discussion. If you have any questions, please come to lesson and ask, and I will see you